It's been a while since I have reviewed any DC animated movies. In fact, truth be told, it's probably been since 2014 when I reviewed Batman Under the Red Hood. But this week saw the release of Justice League vs. The Fatal Five, which saw the iconic trinity of Kevin Conroy, George Newbern, and Susan Eisenberg reprising their roles as Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, respectively. So, this is the beginning of a three-parter ticket for real features, and we shall start with this movie. The main plot of this movie is for the members of the Fatal Five to journey to the past and free the Emerald Empress, who has been imprisoned in the Green Lantern Corps prison on Oa. The three members of the Legion of Superheroes, Brainiac 5, Saturn Girl, and Lightning Boy, attempt to stop the three members but are unsuccessful in their attempts. Tharok, Persuader, and Mano escape to the past, the early 21st century to be more precise, and I like what they do with the date is that on the time machine dial is that they do not give the specific year, which kind of then sets up for future viewings to say that this could be in any particular year past 2005, which in a weird way gives it a timeless quality. The build up to the reveal of what the Fatal Five intend to do is unbelievably asinine. They want to alter the past so that their future is more prosperous by destroying the sun! No, you did not mishear me. They intend to launch the powerful eye of the Empress into the sun to wipe out life on Earth so that the Earth is theirs for the taking in the 31st century. I'm no scientist, but even I can tell you that this theory and plot is full of more holes than Swiss cheese. The subplots are actually the more interesting and engaging part of this movie, just seeing Ms. Martian being tested by Batman as to whether she should be accepted into the League or not, Jessica Cruz, who is a member of the Green Lantern Corps, going through her own testing time with getting over a trauma and just seeing her day-to-day challenge of not only being able to function as a human being, but as a superhero as well, is what keeps the story interesting, as well as seeing the challenges that Lightning Boy has to go through where he is not able to keep his mental stability in check due to the fact that the medication that he is prescribed back in the 31st century is not available in the 21st century. The dialogue is good between the main leaguers, with Batman still being the eternal grouch that he is. I found it amusing when he says to Ms. Martian, "I don't deal with teenagers." To then seeing Ms. Martian morphing into the Tim Drake version of Robin had me laughing afterwards when Bats simply says, "Point taken." And speaking of Bats once again, whilst I understand the need to give Kevin Conroy useful quips and comebacks to work with, while I laughed at his comeback against Mano, it was equally cringy when he said, "Bring it, Skeletor." That's the only real problem with pop culture references, is that it's going to be dated within a few years to where people will look back at this and think, what were they thinking? And they reference Back to the Future Part 2 by stating, well, at least the movie's got one thing right about the future, when they saw flying cars in the 31st century. Ugh. So in summary, the writing for the most part is more than adequate, but there are a couple of aspects that I felt undermines the movie, but it's the subplot that gives this movie charm. I think the only cast member that kind of disappointed me, and it should shock me, but it doesn't, and that is Kevin Conroy as Batman. I don't know what it is with Conroy in recent movies, but he just sounds like he's just going through the motions with his vocal portrayals as the Dark Knight. Whereas some 27 years ago, where he voiced the character in Batman the Animated Series, there was a lot of drive, passion, and enthusiasm in his vocal delivery. Now, he just sounds like he is either bored or does not care. Mind you, this has kind of been a problem with these straight-to-DVD movies for the better part of a decade, because when you look at Batman Gotham Knight, the telltale signs were there when he simply didn't give the emotion and range as the character as we had been so accustomed to. This is also noticeable in Batman the Killing Joke. Although that said, Conroy's vocal range in that movie was the least of that flick's problems. George Newbern, despite being how limited he was with his portrayal as the Man of Steel, knocked it out of the park as he has done so often in the past, so I have no complaints with Superman on this occasion. Susan Eisenberg, like with George Newbern, I have nothing bad to say because she killed it, as she normally does, and in my opinion, her voice has not aged at all. She sounds just as good as Wonder Woman now, if not better. Diane Guerrero as Jessica Cruz is the heart and soul of this movie, and her friendship with Lightning Boy. Diane really makes Jessica likable. Hearing how she goes through her daily struggle just to have normalcy and how she tries to forget a trauma from her past whilst also trying to be a good Green Lantern Corps member and as a member of the Justice League. She has good chemistry with Elias Gable as Lightning Boy. There is an implied romance between the two, but it doesn't really go anywhere. I think it's more along the lines of somebody you have something in common with. Daniela Bobadilla is just adorable as Miss Martian. She has very quirky and snarky wit, and she plays well off of Batman. Maybe Win will enjoy listening to her. So, for voice acting, aside from phone-in Conroy, the voice acting is more than adequate. The art style saw the return of the iconic DC animated universe style from the Justice League animated series. And I'm going to be flat out honest with this, it's been such a long time since we've seen that particular style on TV or as a movie from DC that it was just so refreshing. It's like that old expression, what was old is now new again. While I praise DC for trying various art styles over the last 15 years, it's nice every once in a while to go back to what everyone is familiar with. Because for most people, shows like Superman the Animated Series, Batman the Animated Series, and then Justice League the Animated Series, that is their childhood. So to see this style make a comeback, that's going to bring back a lot of fond memories for people because it will remind them of a time when it was a lot more simple, innocent, and remind them of where they were when they were watching these animated series back in the day. So yeah, for a lot of people, this will speak to their heart, because I know it spoke to mine. It's a DC animated movie, so you know you're going to get your money's worth and then some with regards to the music in the background, so I don't have anything negative whatsoever to say about this particular piece. To summarize this as a whole, the movie has a few problems with regards to writing, as I mentioned earlier. And also has the recurring problem of Kevin Conroy not really knowing where to find the passion and emotion once again. Conroy, I love you as Batman, but you really need to start putting your back into these things again. Aside from the discrepancies, this was actually a very enjoyable movie. It had the right amount of dark elements, as well as the right amount of cursing, particularly for an animated movie rated at 12, PG-13 in America, and it knew when to dial things back and be a little more lighthearted. I don't think it's going to be remembered in the same regard as that of Batman Mask of the Phantasm, or even Justice League Crisis on Two Earths, but then again, what is these days? Yet, at the same time, I can find something enjoyable with regards to the rewatch value for this in years down the road.